Love is often spoken about as something loud and dramatic, but more often than not, it is quiet and steady, shaping lives in ways we only recognize when we look back. For some, love is found in family or faith. For others, it lives in a lifelong passion or calling. For George Strait, love has always existed at the intersection of music and family, guiding his decisions and sustaining him through moments of both joy and deep sorrow. While millions of fans know him as the king of country music, few truly understand the life he lived beyond the stage lights. Behind the sold-out stadiums, the timeless songs, and the calm, confident presence was a man who carried profound personal challenges with humility and grace, choosing not to let hardship define him, but instead allowing it to deepen the meaning of everything he created. Texas beginnings and ranch roots. George Harvey Strait was born on May 18, 1952 in Poteet, Texas, and raised in the small ranching town of Big Wells, where wide skies and long days shaped both character and values. His childhood unfolded on his father's 2,000-acre cattle ranch, a place that demanded discipline, patience, and responsibility from a young age. Alongside his older brother, John Buddy Strait Jr., George learned how to care for animals, mend fences, and endure the physical demands of ranch life. These early lessons instilled a quiet strength and work ethic that would later become hallmarks of his personality. Life on the ranch was not glamorous, but it was grounding, offering stability and a sense of purpose that would stay with him long after he left the land behind. A family changed by separation. In 1961, when George was still in elementary school, his family experienced a shift that would quietly shape his emotional world. His parents divorced and his mother moved away, leaving George and his brother in the care of their father, John Byron Strait Sr., who balanced his work as a high school math teacher with managing the ranch. Though loving and supportive, his father ran a structured household where expectations were clear. The absence of his mother created a subtle ache that George rarely spoke about, but it also fostered independence and resilience. Rather than hardening him, the experience taught him emotional self-reliance and an appreciation for stability, traits that would later define his approach to family and marriage. Discovering music without intention. Music entered George Strait's life quietly, without any grand ambition or clear plan. As a teenager, he and his brother formed a small rock and roll band, playing at local gatherings and school events. The performances were informal and imperfect, but they awakened something within George that ranch work alone never had. Music offered a sense of connection and expression that felt deeply personal, even if he did not yet understand its significance. While others chased attention, George simply enjoyed the feeling of standing in front of people and sharing something honest. At the time, music was not a career aspiration. It was simply a companion that followed him quietly, waiting for the right moment to take center stage. Young love and a lifelong partnership. While still in high school, George met Norma Voss, a young woman whose kindness, strength, and quiet confidence immediately stood out to him. Their bond grew naturally, rooted in trust and shared values rather than drama or spectacle. In 1971, they chose to elope in Mexico, beginning a partnership that would endure for decades. On December 4th, 1971, they were officially married, starting a life together built on loyalty, patience, and mutual respect. Norma would become George's emotional anchor, supporting him through every phase of his life, from uncertainty and rejection to success and loss. Their relationship was never about public attention, but about standing beside one another through everything life offered: service, responsibility, and distance from home. Shortly after marrying Norma, George enlisted in the United States Army, serving as an engineering clerk from 1971 to 1975. He was stationed at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, far from Texas and the familiar comfort of home. Military life introduced him to discipline on a new level, reinforcing structure and accountability while also testing his ability to adapt. During this period, George and Norma welcomed their first child, Jennifer Lynn, in 1972. Becoming a father brought both joy and responsibility, deepening his understanding of what it meant to provide, protect, and remain emotionally present even when circumstances were challenging. Music finds its voice in uniform. While stationed in Hawaii, George discovered that music was more than a pastime. It was a calling he could no longer ignore. He joined an Army-sponsored country band known as Rambling Country, performing for fellow service members and discovering the power of storytelling through song. These performances revealed a truth that stayed with him long after the final note faded. Music allowed him to communicate emotion without spectacle. It gave voice to feelings he rarely expressed aloud. For the first time, he could see a future where music was not just something he enjoyed, but something he needed in order to feel whole. Returning home with a dream. When George completed his military service in 1975, he returned to Texas with his family and a quiet determination to pursue music seriously. He enrolled at Texas State University, studying agriculture while performing with the Ace in the Hole band at local clubs and dance halls. Life during this period was demanding, filled with long days, late nights, and financial uncertainty. George balanced responsibility with aspiration, never losing sight of his role as a husband and father. Trips to Nashville brought rejection after rejection, with industry executives dismissing his traditional sound as outdated. Yet through it all, Norma remained his greatest source of encouragement, reminding him that authenticity mattered more than trends. The moment everything changed. By 1979, doubt began to weigh heavily on George. The demands of family life, combined with repeated professional rejection, made him consider walking away from music altogether. Norma urged him to try once more, believing deeply in his talent. That final attempt led to a meeting with producer Tony Brown at MCA Records. Brown recognized something rare in George's voice and presence, and in 1981, George released his debut single, Unwound. The song quickly climbed the charts, reaching number 6 and marking the beginning of a career that would redefine country music. That same year, George and Norma welcomed their son, George Bubba Strait III, completing their family and grounding George even as fame began to rise. Fame without losing himself. As George Strait's career accelerated, he remained remarkably unchanged. While accolades and opportunities multiplied, he continued to prioritize privacy and family. Unlike many artists of the era, he avoided excess and maintained clear boundaries between his public and personal lives. His calm demeanor and unwavering consistency earned him respect, not only as an artist, but as a man who knew who he was. Fame did not alter his values. It simply amplified the quiet strength he had carried since childhood. A loss no parent expects. In 1986, George and Norma experienced a loss that reshaped their lives forever when their daughter Jennifer Lynn passed away at the age of 13 following an automobile accident. The loss was devastating, and grief settled deeply into their lives. George did not speak publicly about his pain, choosing instead to grieve privately with his family. Friends described him as deeply affected, carrying the loss with him quietly rather than outwardly. Music, while still meaningful, could not erase the absence left behind. Over time, George allowed his experiences to inform his artistry, bringing greater emotional depth to his work without ever exploiting personal tragedy. Honoring love through action. In memory of Jennifer, George and Norma established the Jennifer Lynn Strait Foundation, dedicated to supporting children's causes throughout Texas. Through this foundation, they transformed grief into purpose ensuring that Jennifer's legacy would continue to bring light into the lives of others. This commitment reflected George's belief that love does not end with loss, but instead finds new ways to express itself through compassion and service. Life's continuing changes. As the years passed, George faced additional moments of farewell that reminded him of life's impermanence. In 2009, his brother Buddy passed away, marking the loss of a lifelong companion and shared history. Not long after, his mother Doris passed following a lengthy illness, and in 2013, his father followed at the age of 91. Each loss carried its own weight, gently reshaping George's understanding of time, family, and gratitude. Through it all, he leaned on Norma and Bubba, finding strength in the family he had built, strength in silence. One of George Strait's most defining qualities has always been his ability to endure without spectacle. He never used personal hardship for publicity or sympathy. Instead, he allowed his music to reflect lived experience subtly, trusting listeners to feel the honesty beneath the surface. His restraint became part of his authenticity, allowing fans to connect with his work in deeply personal ways. A career built on consistency, over more than 4 decades, George Strait achieved a level of success that remains unmatched in country music. With 60 #1 singles, over 70 million albums sold in the United States, and decades of chart dominance, his influence reshaped the genre. Yet what set him apart was not just achievement, but consistency. He stayed true to traditional country music, proving that sincerity and simplicity could endure in an evolving industry. Giving back without spotlight. Despite immense success, George never lost sight of the importance of humility and generosity. Beyond his foundation, he consistently supported charitable causes without seeking recognition. His belief in giving back reflected the values learned on the ranch, where community and responsibility mattered more than applause. Still connecting across generations, even after stepping back from full-scale touring, George's connection with fans remained powerful. In 2024, more than 110,000 people gathered at Kyle Field in Texas for a single performance, setting a U.S. attendance record. That same year, his album Cowboys and Dreamers demonstrated that his music still resonated deeply. In 2025, he was honored by the Kennedy Center, recognizing not only his artistry, but the integrity with which he lived his life, the man behind the songs. Beyond the music, George Strait is a devoted husband, a loving father, and a man who values privacy over praise. His life shows that true strength often appears quietly, through consistency, devotion, and the courage to endure without complaint. He never chased reinvention or spectacle. Instead, he chose authenticity, allowing time to deepen both his art and character. Lessons from a life lived fully. George Strait's story reminds us that success does not protect us from pain, but love gives us the strength to move forward. His journey illustrates that resilience does not always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly, day after day, doing what needs to be done. Through music, family, and service, George built a legacy rooted in honesty and heart, a life defined by love. From the open fields of Texas to the world's largest stages, George Strait's life has been guided by love in all its forms. Love for family, love for music, and love for a way of life that values humility and integrity. His story is not just one of fame, but of perseverance, devotion, and grace. A question worth asking. As we reflect on George Strait's journey, it becomes clear that his music is only one part of what makes him extraordinary. Beyond the records and accolades lies a man who chose love over ego, family over fame, and authenticity over spectacle. Perhaps the most meaningful question is not about his achievements, but about what his life teaches us. What does it truly mean to live well, love deeply, and leave something lasting behind?